Hello everybody, welcome back to Real Scent Review. Thank you for tuning in again with us. Now, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so if you're a fan of my content, and also think about giving this video a like. Okay, so tonight I'm going to review one of my favorites for fall. Now this one has flown a little bit under the radar, at least in some markets. Where I used to live in a smaller town, and then I moved to a bigger city, and then I lived in some massive cities in my life. And I just never really smelled this one a whole lot on people out in public. It's one that I had never really heard talked about much, unfortunately, because it's really good, but at the same time maybe it's a good thing in a way. You don't want to get those secrets out there into the world. You don't want people stealing your thunder. Anyway, I digress. I'm going to start reviewing this very special one here from the house of Zadig and Voltaire. It's called This Is Him. This Is Him by Zadig and Voltaire. You can get a look at this bottle here. Standard black. This is a 50 milliliter bottle. It's black but transparent. Cap just comes right off there. Very simple. Clicks into place. It's not the most heavy-duty cap or bottle, but what is really cool about this one is that if you can see this jagged edge here, it looks like it was, broken right off the side of a rock, right? Now, this is because the female version of this is her, has the identical marking, the identical cut off on its bottle, so they're meant to be able to just slide together and hold in place to an extent, which is pretty cute if you ask me. Anyway, getting on to the actual review here with my scent card. I've already sampled so many perfumes and colognes today that I'm not going to spray any more on my wrist because that would dilute the smell too much. It would be mixed up with a lot of other ones. So anyway, here we go. Good atomizer. Nothing insanely powerful, but it's good. So this fragrance is completely based around two notes. Those two notes are vanilla and incense. Now, in the very opening, you get a little bit of black pepper mixed with grapefruit. But it's not a zingy, fresh, rindy type of grapefruit. It's just kind of more of like a minimalist. If you take the actual fruit part of the grapefruit, that's what you smell. If you remove the effervescent, citrusy kind of fuzziness that you get a lot of times with grapefruit openings, you remove that, and if you're just left with like what the fruit itself smells like grapefruit juice, for example, that's kind of what this is, toned down and mixed with some black pepper, so it adds a little bit of spice to it. It's a good opening, but of course right there in the background already we're smelling the vanilla, which is very nice. The vanilla in this one is a darker rendition of vanilla. It's dark and dusty. It's very dry. There's nothing juicy about this vanilla. For example, Spice Bomb Extreme by Victor and Rolf has very juicy vanilla. You know what I mean? This, on the other hand, is dry. It's dry and darker, right? And of course, it's paired with that incense, that beautiful incense. Now, this incense is on the smokier side, but on the same token, it's not going to choke anybody out because it's even though it's smoky, it's kind of toned down a little bit, mixed with that vanilla really well, almost becoming one accord, a vanillic incense. Very well blended, and that grapefruit has already essentially disappeared. The black pepper does linger for a while, up until the end of the mid part, roughly. So for the first few hours, you definitely get that spicy vanilla with a little bit of smoky incense, which is very nice. And in the far dry down, as a base note, you get some creamy sandalwood. Now, when I say creamy, I just mean that it's, first of all, it's not juicy or lactic or milky. It's but it's not resinous. It's not a sharp type of wood either. You could guess, I guess you could call this kind of just a dusty, dry, nondescript woody note in the very base. But it is not a prominent note at all. It's there just to lend a backbone, right? So again, as I said, this fragrance is completely built around the vanilla and to a lesser extent, but also, you know, in a big way, the incense. Really nice. Now, I'm going to explain a little something about this, Zadig and Voltaire's This Is Him. You know, in the designer fragrance realm, vanilla is a very common note to add to cool weather fragrances, right? However, a lot of times when vanilla is added, people automatically assume that the fragrance is going to be cloyingly sweet and very syrupy and just very sweet. While that is true in a lot of cases, Zadig and Voltaire's This Is Him is an exception. This does vanilla very well in a very classy, rounded out way. This is not like an in-your-face, cloyingly sweet, attention-grabbing vanilla. This is a subdued vanilla that's blended very well with a really sexy, classy incense note. So the way the vanilla is done in this particular fragrance is not the norm in the designer realm. So I would venture to say that this is borderline niche quality. Borderline niche quality. The only thing I will say is there's just something that's a touch synthetic about this, you know? And that's only if you smell it up close. If you smell this wafting off of somebody who walks by you in the street, oof, I guarantee you're going to love it. You know, there's no way you would be able to tell that this is a designer scent. But smelling it up close, it's not that it's bad by any means. This is one of my favorite fall and winter fragrances. It's just not extremely natural. Now, I guess there are a lot of niche fragrances out there that don't use, you know, completely natural notes. In fact, well, there are a lot of them. It's just this one is, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's on the level of masterpiece. You know what I mean? Anyway, maybe I'm just talking too much. But having said all of that, this is absolutely one of my favorite cool weather fragrances, that, as I've mentioned. I can't stop sniffing it. It's so good. But, you know, as far as designers go, absolutely one of the best vanillas. And I might venture to say that this is one of the better incense forward fragrances in the designer realm. Once you start getting into niche, there are a lot of, you know, incense based fragrances that are of higher quality than this. But right now, I guess we're not talking about niche. We're talking about strictly designer. And like I said, as far as designers go, this is one of the best incenses, in my opinion, and it's also one of the best vanillas, right? So, and taking those two notes and combining them in a way that's blended just so well in such a classy way with this, really works. Really works. So, as far as designers go, this is almost top notch. It's up there. In my opinion, it's up there with the Guerlains and the Diors. The only thing is, like I said, this hasn't really gotten a lot of attention. And, you know, bringing the topic of discussion over to the performance isn't spectacular. You know, the longevity is better than the projection. Longevity, I get probably 6 hours on my skin. Projection, you know, it projects moderately, maybe an elbow length or halfway down the forearm roughly for the first hour. Then it really starts to settle back. So it's not a beast mode projector by any means. The longevity is good, maybe slightly above average, but it's nothing really beast mode, right? The sillage, however, is good. The sillage, you know, when you spray this, it'll hang around in the air for about 10 minutes roughly. So all in all, it's not a monster performer, but it's that scent that scent is just so good. As far as designers go, like I said, it's, in my opinion, one of the best. And another really amazing, interesting thing is that this, you know, depending on the time of year you look, depending on the website, you can get this relatively cheap. So you can get a 100 milliliter bottle for, the last time I checked, was right around $75 Canadian. Now mind you, that's not the cheapest ever, but it's also not the most expensive. And, you know, this is more for, I would say, formal wear for sure, in the cooler months only. So, you know, if you're using a reasonable amount of sprays and you're reserving it for, in my opinion, what it's made for, which is like formal occasions, you know, a 100 milliliter bottle should last you a very long time. You know, $75 Canadian for 100 milliliters. The last time I checked, which was a few months ago, that's what this was going for. Now, I've also seen this as low as like $55 Canadian for a 100 milliliter bottle. It helps to just shop around, you know, and definitely wait for discounts or sales, you know, around the holiday seasons, you know, usually after the holiday has passed. Anyway, if you look hard enough, you can find this for a pretty good deal online. As always, buy from discounter. So, Zadig and Voltaire, this is him. Age group, I can't see a young man wearing this. Teenager, I wouldn't say this is for teenagers. This leans mature, age 25 and up. Formal dress, maybe semi-formal. This is a one I would wear to on a date. This would work very well for a date, a nice dressed up date. I would avoid wearing this in the club. Like I said, any situation where there's going to be a lot of heat, I would avoid wearing this. So, you know, some sort of banquet would be a great idea. You know, you get the picture. Formal. It leans formal. I would not wear this in the office. I think it's a little bit sensual. It's kind of a sensual scent, you know, puts you in a relaxed mood, right? It, you know, might make you feel a certain way when you smell this, which is not, usually not the kind of, you know, not one you want to put off in an office situation, right? So in my opinion, this is a little bit too sensual for the office. Yeah, so leans mature, you know, and a part of me feels like a lot of young people wouldn't really appreciate this anyway, because, you know, if we're talking about the buying habits of teenagers when it comes to fragrances, you know, a lot of time we're talking about the Invictuses, the 1 Millions, really sweet, heavily projecting, attention-grabbing fragrances, right? This is not that. This is a classy, refined, sensual, classy, formal, you know, adjective after adjective. That's what this scent is, you know. It's definitely on the formal side. Anyway, guys, I really hope you've enjoyed my review as much as I've enjoyed presenting it. And as always, keep it real. All right, we'll see you next.